Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome, world. Welcome once again to Tuesday Talk with Key West Lou. I am your host, Louis Patrone. Well, another week. All kinds of excitement. Too much excitement out there. I wish things would calm down, not only in Washington, but the whole world. Too many heavy things. Too much for us to be concerned with. Trump is not helping. He's irritating the whole world, turning our friends against us, getting us out of trade agreements we should have remained in, trying to becoming friends with people who have been our enemies for years, but alienating the rest of the free world. So I don't know. Well, the worst thing that could have happened thus far under Trump's administration happened today, and that's with the tax bill in the House of Representatives. They passed the tax bill as anticipated, overwhelmingly. They control the House. They got it. And tomorrow, it was supposed to go to the Senate for a vote tonight, but I'll tell you why it isn't going to the Senate for a vote tonight. Because the bill that the House passed is no good. Whatever the House did, it had to comply with certain Senate rules. It did not comply with Senate rules, so they're bringing the House back tonight, all the representatives, to vote on the bill again, to legitimatize it, so they can send it to the Senate tomorrow for the Senate to pass it, and then I'm sure that Trump is going to sign it as soon as possible. The Republicans are excited. Especially the head of the Ways and Means Committee today. He's a bald-headed fellow from Texas. I forget his name. And what he said is what a lot of Republicans have been saying the last few days, and we should be aware, we should be cognizant, and we should be on our guard. He said, we know the people don't like it in the country. None of them understand. You, the press, have poisoned them, and we know it's good for them. They don't know it's good for them, but they're going to find out it's good for them. Now, you tell me how the hell this guy knows what's good for you and me, and how this bunch of 247 or 250 Republican congressmen knows what's good for the other 320 million people in this country. Not on an issue like this, where the numbers show, polls have been taken, that 2-1, the people of this country reject this tax law. The people do understand. It's terrible. They're handling themselves like they're patricians. They've got their feudal castles, and we're the plebeians and we're the serfs working the fields. They know what's good for us. We don't know what's good for ourselves. All right? Well, let me tell you something. We're going to know by next year at this time. A little later, maybe, but by next year at this time, because this is going to start off good. People are going to start getting money in their checks right away in January. They're going to bring extra money home in their paychecks. And our Congress thinks this is what's going to make the people happy, to bring home an extra $50, $60 in their paycheck. It's not a hell of a lot of money. It comes to about $3,000 a year. Let me show you how the numbers work. Congress considers the middle class people making under $200,000 or under $300,000 a year. Those numbers go back and forth. I don't know which one it is because they don't know themselves. But under $200,000 or $300,000 a year, you are middle class. And by the way, how many people make $200,000 a year that you know? Anyhow, those people are going to bring home an extra $60 a year. Now, the very rich, that 1% maybe comes to 5%, they're going to take home $60 a week, the $200,000, $300,000 people. But the people making a lot of money anyhow, they're billionaires, are going to take home $13,000 every week because of this bill, this new tax law. Now, let me tell you how it works out. You take $60, multiply it times 52 weeks, that's $3,100, $3,000 a year. Those making $200,000 and $300,000 are finding their paychecks extra every week. The people making $13,000 every week on this deal, though, you multiply that by 52 weeks in a year, it comes to $780,000 a year. Now, ain't that fair? They make all that, and the people making $200,000 and $300,000 don't make anywhere near it. This one Republican I heard today, he called this new tax law Republican equality. I don't see where the hell the equality is, and I don't think you do either. I'm going to tell you where I think we're going. I think we're heading for a recession. Next year, towards the end of the year, we may be into a recession. Just like that, because that's how recessions occur. I'm not an economist. I understand that, and I could be totally wrong. But I'm 82 years old, and I lived through a lot of recessions. And I want to tell you how recessions occur. Just like that on a given day. The market's booming, and then all of a sudden, one day it loses 300 or 400 points. The next day it loses another 300 or 400 points. Then it comes back a little bit, and then a couple of days later it starts losing more and more, and sometimes you lose a few thousand points, and we're into a recession. You have no preparation for it. You can't anticipate it because the market's always booming when this happens. Everything's good. Nothing could be better in this country. And then everyone's asking, the guys with the money, why did this market come down? Why did it drop 300-400 points? Why 800 points in a couple of days? I see this coming. I see it coming, and then you're going to see how good this tax bill was, because this tax bill is one of the things that will lead us into that recession if it occurs as I anticipate. I want to tell you something. Remember Lyndon Johnson, our president? A lot of people don't like him, but he was a great civil rights leader. He got the civil rights law through, and it took brass balls for him to do it. He was from Texas. The South was Democratic at the time. This is back in the early 70s. And I was practicing law already 15 years at the time. He was a Democrat. He's from Texas, but he knew if he got the civil rights law through, and it was the correct thing to do, that the South would go Republican, and it did automatically the next year. He was right. He said some interesting things, and one of them was this. He said, and I quote, "Making a speech on economics, on the budget, on the tax bill, for example, making a speech on economics is a lot like pissing down your leg." Got it? A lot like pissing down your leg. It seems hot to you, but it never does to anyone else. So there's Donald Trump. He's pissing down his leg, and Paul Ryan and all these other Republicans who are for this bill and for this new law, they're pissing down their legs. They feel terrific, but it doesn't sound that way to the rest of the country. 2-1 again. They are against this new tax law. I want to tell you something else about Donald Trump and Lyndon Johnson. Now, Lyndon Johnson was a crude man. I think Trump's a crude man, but they were crude in different ways. But they were both crude. They're both crude, no question about it. Lyndon Johnson had a habit when he's in the Oval Office and he's got people with him and he's having a meeting. If he had to go to the bathroom, and he has a private bathroom there just off his office, and he had to take a dump, no other way of presenting it, he'd go in there, drop his drawer, sit on the toilet, leave the door open, and call everybody over, and while he's taking his dump, he keeps talking and doing business. It was reported on the national news last week that in the middle of a meeting, Donald Trump pulled a Lyndon Johnson. He had to take a dump. He went, left the door open, and told everybody to talk louder while he was doing it. 2 pigs also. I got to say it that way. Okay, moving on here. This tax bill, this new tax law, is going to help the corporations. We know it. You don't have to be smart to know it. Drop they're being taxed 35%. Well, we dropped the tax on their income to 21%. What a dramatic drop. 35 or 39% to 21%. They're going to have so much free money. The problem is they don't need money. Again, the stocks are doing good. The stock market's way up. This country is in very good shape economically today with the degree of manufacturing it is doing. It's got to do more. I don't buy all the numbers that Trump talks about all the time. But they're doing well, these companies. Now, I'm going to give you an example of how well these companies are, and what I'm going to share with you shows the mentality, the character, the morality of corporate America. I'm sharing with you a major pharmaceutical company called Avondale. Okay? They recently dramatically raised the price on two of their drugs, one by 800% and the other by 2,500%. Now, it's price gouging in the drug market. And here's the way it works. They go out, a company like Avondale, and they look for a stock that doesn't have any competition or has very little competition. Not a stock, a drug. They buy the rights to that drug, okay? They buy the drug rights to the drug. Then they massively inflate the price and make a hell of a profit. Now, let me give you two examples that just happened, and it tells you the story. One is called Niacor. They bought this. It's nothing more than niacin and vitamin B. It cost $32.46 for a bottle of 100 before they bought it. They bought it and boosted the price up to $295 a bottle of 100, from $32.46 to $295. Then there's SSKI. I don't really know what it's for, but they raised that one 2,499%. A 30 milliliter bottle of the drug or the medicine went from $11.48 a bottle to $295 a bottle. We know drug companies are pigs. All of you, especially we of the older generation, we senior citizens, we need a lot of drugs, and we know how we get gouged. The co-pays, I can't believe some of the co-pays some of the time. And it's wrong, this price gouging, on top of being a highly profitable and successful corporation to begin. They really have a concern for the people of the United States, companies like this. Now, I believe that our country, the United States of America, it's being destroyed by our own people. Our own people are destroying America. Not necessarily you and me, but the Donald Trumps. And I got to say, these Republicans who, for some reason, there was a time elected representatives generally paid allegiance to the United States of America. We got to do what's good for the people. Now they all suck up to Donald Trump. This guy did do something. And what? Less than a year, he's got all of them sucking up. They're all kissing his ass. They want to do what he wants. Nobody wants to take him up on a moral issue and say, you're wrong, we can't do things this way. They're afraid of the man. He's got a talent. I believe Trump is sick. I think he's a mental case. I said this when he was running in the primaries. I go that far back. I'll tell you this, too. Nixon was a bad man. Nixon hurt this country. Clinton's impeachment was a personal thing. Nixon did something to hurt the country. What Nixon did is kid stuff in comparison to what Trump is doing. So I say, my friends, beware, be vigilant, okay? I believe that we are living in the most dangerous time in the history of our country. I repeat, I believe we are living in the most dangerous time in the history of our country. And I got a long time. I keep going back to being 82, but that puts me a long time on this earth. And I feel like I've lived through history because I'm so old. We are being destroyed by our own people. And Donald Trump right now is leading the pack, but he's got hundreds, for whatever reason, behind him. Want to go to Alabama in the election? My show was last Tuesday, but we had no results at 9 o'clock when my show was on. They came later in the night. I've got to say this. I thought Alabama was going to go for more. The people acted so strange. And I couldn't believe they would do it, but they're so hard-ass Republican out there. What is 8% of the people in Alabama are Democrats? And it was like a free ride for more. I'm going to tell you, the result in electing Jones renewed my faith in humankind, in the people of this country. Because there's some things that go beyond party lines, and Jones's election was one of those things, and Moore's defeat was one of those things, okay? It still bothers me, though, that senators, the Republican senators, they put politics ahead of right, ahead of morality, all right? They didn't care that he might have been a pedophile and he was chasing young girls and he had this bad track record sexually. They were more concerned by keeping control, assuring themselves of keeping control of the United States Senate politically rather than doing what was right and not wrong. I say get rid of them all. I'd get rid of the House of Representatives and the Senate, Democrats and Republicans. Let's start fresh, okay? Let's get somebody off the farm, somebody out of a drugstore. Let's get the people back in Washington the way it was back when this country started. I will never forget, nor should you ever forget, how people initially seemed to prefer Roy Moore, okay? And I couldn't understand why the people in Alabama were preferring him and other people, because Moore was a man who hated gays, he hated Jews, he hated blacks, and he liked children. Now, there's something sick about this guy, but yet people were willing to follow him. And Trump was one of them. He was the Pied Piper. This happened this past week. Young lady, black, by the name of Amaroossa Mangold Newman, 27 years old. There are in the White House 27 staff members, okay? They're the hierarchy working directly, immediately for the President of the United States. One of them is Amaroossa. She's a black woman, 27. Only black woman there. You know, we can say honestly, Trump does not appear to like people of color. Tan, black, whatever you are, Oriental, he does not like people of color, Latinos. He has no diversity except for this one girl, and his cabinet only has one person of diversity, Ben Carson. Well, anyhow, she got in trouble somehow with John Kelly last week, and he's the chief of staff, and Kelly fired her. And the initial news word was that she ran from downstairs in the White House up to the president's personal quarters. He lives on the top floor with his family, looking for the president, screaming for him, because she didn't want to be fired. And they got her, and Kelly had her taken out of the White House on escort and taken out beyond the fence and took her credentials away. Don't come back anymore. Well, why did this all happen? Well, obviously she got in a pissing match with John Kelly. We don't know why yet. Anyhow, by the next morning, whatever this Trump likes her apparently. That's conceded here. He likes her. He considers her a loyal person, a word very important, a situation very important to the president. She was back, and I don't know if she's in the White House, but she's back, and she's resigning as of the first of the year, and none of this is true. So who knows? And she went on TV a little bit, but she didn't really say anything, but she says, I got a story to tell. Well, I'm going to tell you something. I think she's going to have a very interesting story to tell, and it isn't going to be about how black people are being oppressed. I can't wait till she tells her story. This country may be so shocked and surprised. Now, Trump has a way with words. He keeps changing words. As president, he can sign a piece of paper, and that changes an existing regulation or adjusts a law. He puts something into effect so the law can be passed, backing it up. He plays with words to the detriment of the people of the United States, words to the detriment of our country. Now let's talk about birth control. My God, when the hell are we going to get off the birth control kick? We've been at this for 50 years? I don't believe this. It's like abortion. Anyhow, you will recall about 2 years ago, the Little Sisters of something, some religious nunnery group, they went to court. And their position basically was they had employees, and they thought it violated their religious rights if they had to pay for insurance that would provide free birth control to women. And the court agreed with them. If it violates your religious rights, you don't have to do it. So the issue was resolved. Well, Trump opened the door last week. He loves playing with words. And he came out with an order that became law. It became law, and here's what happened. He came out with an order that said, we are taking religious rights. That's an exemption that you have to provide birth control, and we're going to add 2 more exemptions to it. One is going to be for publicly traded corporations. If a public corporation does not want to pay for birth control pills for their female employees, they don't have to because they are a public corporation. Now, you tell me, what the hell does a public corporation have to do religiously with the Little Sisters of a religious organization? And he also said, if not on religious grounds, you're an employer, and it's not on religious grounds that you want to stop paying for this stuff, perhaps because you're not the little nuns, you're just drugstore chain or something, you can do it if you say it's on moral grounds. Moral grounds. Well, this went before court this past week, and a federal judge temporarily blocked these new Trump rules on birth controls. He blocked it. It's temporary. They're going to come up for full argument probably in the next month, and we'll see what happens from there. And then it'll go on to the appellate courts. It'll be an issue for almost 2 years. But he doesn't give up trying, Trump. He doesn't give up trying. He takes the things that Obama gave the people, he keeps taking away. And he blames Obama for all the bad things he claims have happened in this country. The man is sick. All right, going back to words again. There is a place called the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Center for Disease Control and Prevention. Most people in the United States have never heard of it or understand it, etc. I have had personal knowledge. Of it. It's in Atlanta. It's a huge campus. It's a federal entity. It's part of the federal government, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention. And what they do, it's an agency tasked with saving and protecting the lives of the most vulnerable in this country. They are ahead of the game when there's a new disease coming out. They're already anticipating and working on a cure. They keep stuff in this country that if the bottle was opened, Atlanta would be wiped out in an hour, okay? Just opening the bottle of whatever's in it. We are better off health-wise because of them. Without them, we'd be in a terrible situation. Now, they have to apply for money. They put their budget request in once a year, and Trump did not like the words that they would use when they're describing why there is a need for a certain amount of money in a budget. So he issued an order that he signed this past week, and he said, you must stop using, he said this to the center, you must stop using certain words in your application, in your budget documents for 2018. Now, there are 7 words that he specifically banned. This is what they are: diversity, fetus, transgender, vulnerable, entitlement, science-based, evidence-based. Now, these are words that apparently these doctors and scientists down there use and say, I've got a transgender issue, this is very vulnerable, this is scientifically based, et cetera, et cetera. He doesn't want that in there. He said that from now on, you've got to use words, describe it, what you're saying, based on community standards and wishes. What the people in a particular area might have to say about it or want, not what you think as a doctor or a scientist. Now, this is the highest class organization, maybe the highest class organization in the world for protecting the health of a people, and we are that people, the people of the United States. But he wants you to use community standards and wishes. Now, somebody's asked for him to do this, and he's doing it. I haven't figured out who yet. Bad situation. And I'm going to tell you this, the medical and scientific community in this country are upset. They believe this is reckless and dangerous and cannot be permitted to go on, and they are already mobilizing to try to work this out and get the old words put back in. This is another thing the president did with words. You know, you laugh I'm laughing as I say this. This guy loves to move his pen around. And you know who the guy is that generally writes this stuff, the inspiration, is Steve Miller sitting in the background. He's 32 years old. He's got slicked down little hair. He's getting bald from the front. Thin. He's Donald Trump's Joseph Goebbels. Adolf Hitler had Joseph Goebbels, who did his writing and said, if you tell a lie enough times, people will believe it. Now the president's into stealing tips. And why am I concerned about stealing tips? I'm talking about waiters, waitresses, and bartenders, and kitchen help. Our business, our industry in Key West is tourism. We've got more waiters and waitresses, et cetera, than I don't know how many, but just about everybody's a waiter, waitress, or bartender, or a chef, or a dishwasher. And you know, waiters and waitresses and bartenders get tips. In some instances, they pool them. They don't have to by law, and they share it with the kitchen help, the chef, the dishwashers, et cetera. Most times they don't. They keep it all. However, as a practical matter, and this is illegal, but many employers, many restaurant owners in the country, they take a piece of the tips, and they tell their employees, if you don't like it, get a job someplace else. Very simple. Well, Trump's come up with a new rule. Remember, Trump wants to make the rich richer, the poor poorer. He wants to help business America, corporate America. He doesn't care about the people of America, in my opinion. And this is the new rule, okay? And this is the new order. It's an order. And it says if the employer pays minimum wage to the bartenders, waiters, and waitresses, okay, that pool money that normally was set aside and went to the kitchen help because they're not out there working in front of the people, that percentage goes to the employer in full, 100%. He gets to keep all of the pool money. Screw the people in the kitchen. Isn't that wonderful? He does good things for the people who have money. He doesn't do good things for the people that don't have enough money. Want to talk about iguanas. And you say, what the hell do you want to talk about iguanas for? Because in the last 15 years, all of a sudden we have iguanas in Florida. They're on the golf course. They're by your swimming pools, anywhere from a foot to 3 feet long. They look like dinosaurs, little dinosaurs. The state came out last week, the state of Florida, and says, we got to do something about it. I've been saying we should do something about it for years. They're a protected species, by the way. You can't kill the son of a gun. Anyhow, they said, no. They're out of control. We got to do something to control them, et cetera. And so they're starting a program to do this. The very next day, it comes out that Puerto Rico is selling iguana meat. They call it chicken of the trees, chicken of the sea, for $15 to $49.99 a pound. It tastes like chicken. Central America and South America has been eating iguanas for years. We don't do that much here in the United States. That is my show for tonight. My book, Irma and Me, I can't believe how good it's selling. God bless America. I never expected this. Buy it. Amazon.com, Barnes & Noble. I forget, $14.95, $15.95. Good, interesting reading. Not sad. Irma and Me. Fun. And listen to my Key West Lou video on Facebook every day, 1 or 2 minutes. I talk about whatever strikes me at the moment. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to being with you again next week.
You've reached the Holiday Helpline. We turn the holidays into holidays.
Hi, the countdown to Christmas is on, and we still have tons of gifts to cross off our list. Help!
Time's almost up. Get to Old Navy today.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now the entire store is up to 75% off.
Up to 75% off the entire store? I'm on it.
Plus, Old Navy's got amazing last-minute gifts for the whole family for just $3, $4, and $5 in store and at OldNavy.com. Better hurry, it ends Sunday.
Gifts for $3?
Yep, last chance to turn your holiday into a holiday. Get to Old Navy today. Valid 12/20 to 12/24. Excludes gift cards. Register lane items. Jewelry today only and 2-day only deals. You've reached the Holiday Helpline. We turn the holidays into holidays.
Hi, the countdown to Christmas is on, and we still have tons of gifts to cross off our list. Help!
Time's almost up. Get to Old Navy today.
Old Navy?
Yep, right now the entire store is up to 75% off.
Up to 75% off the entire store? I'm on it.
Plus, Old Navy's got amazing last-minute gifts for the whole family for just $3, $4, and $5 in store and at OldNavy.com. Better hurry, it ends Sunday.
Gifts for $3?
Yep, last chance to turn your holiday into a holiday. Get to Old Navy today. Valid 12/20 to 12/24. Excludes gift cards. Register lane items. Jewelry today only and 2-day only deals.